My name is Reese and I'm from Bookshop Crawl UK, and today I'm very, very privileged to be able to sat here listening and talking to Peter. Peter, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very good, thank you. As I said to Peter before I started, I do apologise in advance. There's a building site next door to our, where we are recording at the moment, so you might hear stuff in the background, but hopefully it won't detract too much. Peter, whereabouts are you from, first of all?
I am from Cheshire, so the bottom of Cheshire, where it butts up against Staffordshire. Little kind of little market town that nobody's heard of called Congleton. Although does have the interesting kind of, all little towns have a little historical kind of nugget, and in Congleton it's the home of John Bradshaw, who was in charge of collecting the signatures for the regicide, executing Charles I. So,
oh wow,
yeah, home of the regicide.
There you go. There's always wonderful, quirky things like that about places in the UK, isn't there?
Otherwise insignificant, but yeah.
Exactly. And where do you work now in Bristol, I believe?
Yeah. So I moved to the Southwest in 2012 to work. To go to uni. I've worked in 3 bookshops in the Southwest so far. Did a little bit of Times and Toppings in Bath, which I'm sure a lot of the crawlers
absolutely
will have heard of and been to. Then I worked at Foyles in Bristol for a while before, moving to Stanfords in Bristol, where I'm the assistant manager.
Very good. Now, how long have you been in Bristol, sorry?
Well, so I moved to the Southwest in 2012. I lived in Bath, but I think I moved to Bristol 2016, 17.
Okay. And have you worked for Stanford since then, or?
No, I've only worked for Stanfords for a year.
Okay. Which sort of leads me on to sort of my first main question. We have looked at doing a bookshop crawl in Bristol quite a few times over the years. It was recommended to us, I think, in 2017 when we started doing them, to have a look. But at the time, we kind of struggled because there weren't actually that many physical bookshops. And yet within the space of 2-3 years, it's changed dramatically. Have you seen a big growth of bookshops in the city?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite exciting, especially given the kind of circumstances that all retailers, not just bookshops, have had to deal with over the last couple of years. And yeah, some of those bookshops were established, but 2, like Bookhouse and Gloucester Road Books, have both opened since lifting of restrictions last year, which is, old. No one quite knew how quickly things were going to recover, and they've both done really well. It's nice. There's a real sense of kind of a community of bookshops in Bristol, the Indies. This Max Minerva's up in Henley's, Storysmith's below the river in North Street. So it feels like wherever you are in the city, there's going to be a bookshop for you, which is really lovely.
Nice.
Sorry.
It's all right. I was going to say, it's very good, obviously, being that area as well. Like you said, Bath has got an amazing bookshop, it's an amazing bookshop city town. And to have another place so near to it now is going to be quite amazing for the area, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the things when I first moved to Bristol, it was kind of like, whoa, where are all the bookshops? I mean, don't get me wrong, before those indies opened up, there are some great places still. Like this is the last bookshop on Park Street, which is excellent. Lots of good, like, remainder stuff, affordable. But a lot of the secondhand bookshops are really great as well. The Oxfam secondhand bookshop on Park Street, the one on Cottam High Street, those are really worth a look. I mean, you can find some excellent stuff there. And then on Corn Street as well in St Nick's Markets, Beware the Leopard. So they're kind of hidden and they don't really crow about themselves as much as us kind of the other bookshops do, but they're all worth a look.
Very good. So Stanfords, obviously it's been in London for a very long time.
Oh yeah, like 1853.
And they've been participants in London Bookshop Crawl since the start. Actually, they were one of the ones that actually came when we originally contacted 5, 6, however many years we've been going now.
Great.
And they've always been involved, so they've been great supporters of us. But so, what can you tell us about the Bristol shop is that is it sort of similar to the London branch, or have you got sort of unique features that are different?
So the Bristol shop has been, I believe, it's been in town, I believe, since 1997, actually. So this year's the 25th anniversary of the shop on the 14th of July, so Bastille Day. It is quite a different creature to the shop in London. We have a lot of autonomy, and we make our own decisions around stock. And we have to respond to the kind of the way things change. And we found that after Brexit, and then with the onset of the pandemic and everything, like just focusing on travel, just focusing on maps and guides wasn't enough anymore. We couldn't do it. So we've become a lot more of a general bookshop now. So we have a really, really strong, big fiction section with an emphasis, we like to think, on translated fiction. So we're still kind of retaining that sense of worldliness. And then a nice big natural history section as well, which I'm quite proud of, because I've done a lot of building there. And some great books, some absolutely fantastic natural history publishing at the moment. So yeah, we've become more of a general bookshop, but we do still have downstairs. It's sort of a kind of a grotto where all our maps and travel stuff is. There's the globes, there's the map plotter where we can print custom maps.
Wow.
So yeah, we kind of half and half now.
Obviously, that's something that's unique to your bookshop, obviously, because it's very rare that you get to go somewhere and actually do those sort of things. But what else makes your store unique, I guess? If you were trying to encourage someone to come to you, what would you say to them?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think with indies, the real uniqueness, I mean, you can have your unique decorations and the sort of like your USPs or what have you, but I think the real kind of uniqueness comes from the staff, the booksellers, because a lot of the ways, for instance, in our shop, with the way we stock our books, a lot of the time it's the things we like and the things we love, and we all pitch in. So, and our tastes are all very, very different. And so, for instance, if you were to speak to one of my colleagues, Jackie, she's going to recommend you a very different book than the one I might. Even if the brief is exactly the same, you're going to be getting a different answer. So I'd say, okay, it's not like, oh yes, we have a secret room where we keep something fantastic and secret, but it's a unique thing that all great indie bookshops can do, which is, you don't know what you're going to get recommended. And we like to try and like throw curveballs at people, offer some surprises.
That's good. I like that about bookshops. There's a few that we go to sort of on a semi-regular basis throughout the UK that just have certain things that make you smile, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's sort of making that extra effort to I guess it's with bookshops, sometimes you can go into a bookshop and it's the same all the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Actually keeping people, keeping minds occupied and making sure that they're sort of, supermarkets have been doing it for years, haven't they? Where they move stuff around and
it's great, you get itchy feet and you think, oh, I'll move that section over there, or this and it like having little displays, like kind of contextualizing things. It's always great fun. It's kind of like getting to redecorate a room every other day or what have you.
That's a really good way of putting it. Obviously, for those of us who aren't able to travel travel the world this year, is there a book that you can particularly recommend?
Well, I mean, there's a great number of books I could recommend. I mean, I believe that like any book has, the capacity to help you travel, whether or not it's a travel book or whether or not that's its whether that's its intention.
But I mean, it's definitely the sign of a good book, isn't it? If it does,
yeah, exactly,
take you to that place, wherever it may be.
I spent the morning rummaging, or a lot, because like I said before, I've just moved house. All my books are in boxes still, so I spent the morning rummaging around to see if I could get some of the stuff. I mean, how many recommends would you like? I've got a small.
You can go ahead and give us however many you like, really.
Okay, so the first one, so some of you might recognize this from the International Booker shortlist this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's Elena Knows by Claudia Pinheiro, translated by Francis Riddle, and this is an absolutely fabulous book. It's set in Buenos Aires, and it follows an old woman, a mother, investigating the suicide of her daughter. So Claudia Pinheiro she's known as a crime writer, but as her career has progressed, she's become increasingly political in her work. So this book focuses a lot on reproductive rights and the role of kind of religious institutions in the lives of women. But it still has this sort of like crime novel feel to it in a sort of lower key. So it's not a police procedural, but it's an investigation. It's very engrossing. It follows the protagonist as she makes a journey through Buenos Aires for a fateful meeting where there's the big reveal at the end, which is absolutely devastating. It's like one of those, you race through the book and you get to the end and it just knocks you off your feet and you spend the next couple of weeks recovering from it. So yeah, really recommend that. We've got some signed copies in the shop as well. So hopefully
that's definitely something that's always appreciated, signed copies.
Yeah, so hopefully there'll be some left for the crawl, but can't promise anything.
We have heard of a few people already that we know of that are going to come to Bath during the Bookshop Crawl weekend. So definitely we're going to be recommending that Stanfords is on the list, basically.
Great. Got another one?
Yep, go ahead.
Time, cool. So this is a proof, but it's a book that came out late last year, published by Little Toller, The Long Field by Pamela Petro. So this is a sort of, it's a memoir, it's sort of a history, it's, I suppose you could say it's a travel book too, but Pamela Petro is an author from Massachusetts, but this book is about her love of Wales, like a lifelong love. And she focuses on the concept of Hiraeth, or Hiraeth. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But anyway, it's a Welsh word, famously difficult to translate, which is supposed to mean like an absence or a yearning for something. So this is where the heart of this book is, because she talks about her personal story and how she kind of struggles to come to terms with who she is and never knowing. Things like sexuality play a big part of that. And then she arrives in Wales as a postgraduate student and suddenly feels like it's her like heart's home. Like she's discovered this thing that was absent inside her. And then it kind of goes from there, and it takes you to some such interesting places, like the kind of the role of Wales within the United Kingdom, like the idea of this like England's first colony, and all of these things, like really digging into it. But she's not Welsh, but she's kind of like this honorary Welsh citizen. There's a lot about language in there, about the words, and about how language defines your sense of reality, like your worldview, the things you look at. Yeah, it's a really rich book, and there were lots of moments, really moving, but very engaging, intellectually stimulating. Stroke my chin as I say that.
That's what beers are for. That's
exactly,
what I
yeah. We had an event with her for this book last year. She came to the UK to talk about it, and she was fabulous. Like, I already felt like I'd met her because I'd read this book, and then meeting her in person, it was exactly the same person.
That is definitely really a good sign, isn't it? When you meet the author and you feel sort of comfortable.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And you feel like I'm sure we've all met authors and we've been very excited about it, and they turned out to be very different people as we expected them to be, but not so. Yeah, so I strongly recommend that one.
That's very good. The Welsh word hireth, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's many years ago I went to school in Wales, so my brain sort of is trying to remember these things. But no, I know the one you mean. Sort of a deep longing for something.
Yeah, but she talks a lot about how contested it is as a word. Like some people hate it, some people think it's a sentimental thing, but she like strips away all the layers, really like, and it's not definitive. She doesn't come to the end of the book and be like, this is what it is. It's like it could be something different for anyone. Yeah, really great.
Well, look, Peter, you've infused me to buy that one, because that's sort of like I said, emotional attachment. So I went to school in Wales in the valleys. I won't do my Welsh accent. I've lost that many years ago. But
are you from Wales then, or did you?
My dad was from Wales, and we moved around a lot, but then moved back to Wales in sort of the mid 90s into the early 2000s, and then moved back to England again. So I lived in Wales throughout all my GCSEs. I had to do GCSE Welsh, which I must admit I was not very good at. But
it sounds like, what's the mutations?
Sorry?
It's part of the language mutations, how the words change. It sounds extraordinary.
It's an incredible language, and just I always love the fact that it's just a language that's used pretty much in only two places in the world. One of which is Wales, and the other part is a small town or village, I believe, in the corner of France. There's a Celtic area in that corner of France, I believe. It's I can't remember where it's called, but there's a sort of mutated Welsh French language that sort of that lives there. It was many years of learning Welsh words, but not overly taking them in, I must admit. Very good. Well, look, thank you so much for giving those two recommendations.
I mean, plenty more, so come along to the shop when you're crawling, and we'll have oodles of recommendations to dish out.
Very good. That's much appreciated, Peter. Only other thing to ask then, in which case, I guess, the other thing that we've been sort of asking our bookshop owners and employees, if someone comes to your shop, most important thing, apart from coming to yourself, is where else should they go? Is there a location sort of that you would recommend that someone who's never been to Bristol may want to go and see before they leave the city?
Yeah, okay. So if you're visiting Stanfords, and if you're coming around lunchtime, then I'll recommend somewhere to eat lunch, somewhere I eat lunch quite often, and it is next door, St. Stephen's Church, and just to the side of it is a little cafe called the Secret Cafe, run by this absolutely lovely Spanish couple, and they do the most amazing Spanish tortillas you'll ever eat in your life, I swear. So pop in there and have some delicious food and some coffee, and read your new books that you've.
It sounds idyllic. That sounds awesome. I like the sound of it already.
Yeah.
Well, look, Peter, thank you very much for spending a little bit of time with us today. Much appreciated. And hopefully you have a good number of bookshop crawlers coming and visiting you in bookshop.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Next time. That's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.